That doesn't matter. It's not about you.
And you don't want
right?
to do what I did as a kid anyways. That was a train wreck, so.
That'll be SteveBuilt Frank & Co. After dark.
I mean, there's been some uncertainty with interest rates. That's been a huge topic, I think, with every client, right? Like I'm hearing a lot of conversation that way. Is this the best time for me to do something? Maybe I'm going to hold off. Or, people have kind of tried to set some things up and have them lined up, but now we're scared to kind of commit and go forward with what they are ready to do.
And it's uneasy for us too, because we're like, well, we took a deposit, so all right, you've already made the first commitment, we've put you in our schedule. I don't know if this has happened to you yet, but with our company, we've had 3 now, 2 where they've just delayed, and 1 where they're like, well, we sort of have to back out because we don't know what's happening with the stocks, markets,
It's just uncertainty, right?
Everyone's. It's nerve-wracking.
It's it's kind of a scary time, but I think at the end of the day, the important takeaway out of all of it is if you kind of look at the history of interest in the last 25 years, what happened in the last 2 years, let's say, it's never happened before.
This pandemic is new to everyone. Yeah.
And it was stimulation. That's why the interest rate was so low. So, you can go in and say, oh, well, I'm going to wait for that to return. Well, let's be honest. Is it really ever going to go back to where it was?
Probably not. It'll probably be lower because right now, we're at 6 to 7% for an interest rate for any type of loan, mortgage, whatever.
Yep.
Like lines of credit. And people are obviously me, myself, I wanted to buy another investment property. I'm like, first off, I don't even think the house is worth that much because what we do, what it's worth and what we have to put into it. And then to spend that, you see that yearly interest and you're like, what? So you can definitely understand our client's point of view, where they're coming from. But you're 100%, I don't think it's ever gonna go back down to what it was. So that's a question. Is it fair for us now to be how long should we be scared for? How long should we be holding back?
And it also kind of changes our job description in the sense of almost having to walk people through that headspace of making them comfortable with that size of purchase, right? Because at the end of the day, we're selling a product and we want to, do the best we can. And a client that's uncertain prior to the start of construction or anything happening with a project is we're kind of behind the ball before we even get rolling, right? And it makes an uneasy transaction. But I mean, I've had a client that's been lined up for well over a year, and that's their go-to, is that they're really worried about that interest rate and what's going to happen. And they have the land purchased and all of that, and this is on the framing side of things, and they just aren't ready to make that leap and start spending that money that they potentially have available to them to do it. And I've said that to them. I go, that interest rates are never going to go back down to that point. So I'm hoping that the realization starts becoming apparent with people, to see that they're like, oh yeah, okay, we have to deal with today's current interest rate, and it isn't that wild at the end of the day. This is
not to compare to what it was way back, not even way back, 08? I think it was up quite high in 08.
Yep.
And then before that would be 80s and all that stuff. But yeah, it's not outrageous, 3% more than what it was. I think people just have to adapt, like you said, and just chalk it up to it is what it is, moving forward. This is life. And how are you going to adapt and make it work for whatever it is you're investing in?
Yes.
Right?
And I mean, it's a hard topic because, money is the thing that makes all of this stuff happen.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
right? And you know, there's like the personal decisions they have to make, whether, you know, is this the person I want to work with and deal with and all of that. And that is a fairly easy sell in the sense that, you know, they're coming to us with confidence that they potentially would like to use us as contractors for them. So that's easy. That's fine. That's the easy part, but the money part's always the hardest part of the job, right? At the initial onset.
Yeah, it's getting over that hurdle. Okay, this is how much we think it's going to cost. What is your budget? And then how do we make everything else work in between?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always the hard part. So do you have like a process that you think works for you, and like either the first consultation with a client to like say landing the job and then executing it?
Well, I think we're employing a letter of intent a lot more to our advantage lately, and that is a really good feeler in terms of finding out the level of seriousness with people, because the letter of intent it just kind of gets them into our corner sort of thing, and then identifies that, hey, like I'm kind of set on this, and even though we're still working on budgeting, maybe
selections,
plan design, all that kind of stuff, you know, ironing that out, but at least there's been a kind of a formal relationship created in that sense, and then we know we can put more time and effort into kind of generating that pre-construction budgets and all of those things, because I mean, let's be honest, what's the point if they're not going to go through with it? You can't dump, you know, anywhere, well, endless amounts of hours into something and have no return. It's just a no-win for us.
And it's realistic. Yep, it goes back to we operate a business, we run a business, we have plenty of bills, we have people we got to pay. That's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think everyone's like, so our process might be a little different from your process in terms of like, not even business size or stature or anything, but like with us, like we go through like, I guess it'd be the inquiry phase, we want to call it.
Yep.
Brainstorming inquiry phase. And then we sort of give like an estimate of what we think their project's going to be at. And then if they're cool with that, we basically, that's their first commitment. Like either you're yes or a no. Move forward, Kate, we'll take a deposit, we'll talk about a rough schedule. And then like in that time frame where we're waiting for drawings and permits and all that stuff, we go through like this selection phase, pre-construction. So it's already sold. And at this point it's like, Kate, we're moving through that pre-construction, and then bam, here's construction. Let's hope no selections change, because that gets...
They will.
Yep, they always do. But yeah, try to avoid that as much as we can, right? And then, in the end, everyone's happy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so interesting to do that initial client meeting, whether it's a renovation or addition project, something like that, where you're walking into a space where the people already live, and you know they're toying with the idea of doing something, right? And that's something I really like to take on personally, because it gives me a really good understanding of the level of seriousness or the level of understanding they have for what they're asking for.
That's true, because they might think that it's just, like I get the gist a lot too. Like, oh, well, I thought it was just an addition or just a home remodel. Like I didn't know that we had to go through this, that. Yeah, so you're right. Some people might not be educated to know like what they're asking for.
Yeah, I mean, I went and looked at one on Friday, and the client said to me, they're like, well, we priced all the cabinetry at IKEA already. Yep. And I said, okay, that's great. Where'd you come to with that number? And they threw out a number, but said that there was lots of pieces missing and things like that. So it was really only maybe 65% of the actual kitchen that was being considered in pricing. And I said, okay. And they go, but like the sink's here already. We just want to move it 10 feet. Okay. But that's
Done.
that's rework though, right?
Yeah.
Like someone has to do that. It's not just like, oh, we can put a sink there and
Exactly.
everything just goes where we want it to and it's fine. And
And all stuff starts going through your brain, like, hey, is the basement ceiling open? Is this accessible? And like, all starts, coming together, right? And we know how it all the pieces fit, because that's our job, that's our profession, that's what we do. But yeah, the clients just go like, it looks good on this piece of paper that the designer gave me, or IKEA, whatever, spit out. That's great, it's wonderful. Like, you guys took a first step of commitment, but it's like, there's a lot more to it.
there's tons more. And for that client, they were on a septic system. And I said, I will tell you right now, it would be in bad faith for me not to communicate that there may be some conversation about your septic system. And they said, well, we have a kitchen, it's all the same, nothing's changed. I go, but that doesn't matter. When you go to apply for the permit, that potentially could trigger some review of your septic.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing it. The septic's fine. And I'm like, you can say that, I can say that. Septic system installer could say, hey, yeah, your system's great. But at the end of the day, it's not really, you can't just say it's
something
fine.
different. Yeah. Yep.
That's not how it works. And so it's all those, little hidden things. And like you say, as professionals, we kind of have the foresight to see those potential problems coming up, but it's not, it hasn't been identified on maybe the TV shows. So
HGTV.
Then we're out of the game, right?
Yeah,
They did it. Yeah, well, that's
They did
great.
that project in 30 grand. Yeah, but that's what the products were that they showed you a cost. Not everything else to actually labor-wise do it, right? So that's always a thing, right?
I mean, they're showing you 40% of the actual job.
Yeah, the good stuff. The on-camera good stuff. Yeah.
It's we're just gonna open all this up and put a beam in. Okay, well, come on. What's the impact to the rest of the house from doing that? Like, let's be real here. But that's not really shown properly to people or viewers or whatever they are. But yeah, so were those 3 projects like slated for this year then? That
it was for from February. There was one February start, a March start, and then a May. So.
And how is that impacting your schedule?
So right now we're seeing if we can bump a couple projects up, but they're still in the pre-construction phase. So there's still the drawings and it hasn't even got the permit yet. So it's probably not going to get bumped up much or at all. And yeah, we're just doing some calling, some emailing, see if we can take other people from like further past down the year and move them up even closer. But if not, we're doing some in-house work, keeping us busy over at our headquarters and stuff. So yeah, it's okay. It sucks, but you just got to deal with it, and hopefully no other delays happen or people backing out, right? And just go with the flow.
And I'd say last year that happened more than I really wanted it to as well. We had a couple dead months that were just unexplained. Like, it just schedules didn't work out, projects got delayed, and we just kind of ran out of work sort of deal. And that's really hard to deal with. That is
It's a stressor.
It's a massive stressor, and it's something, I don't know, as kind of feeling responsible to make sure everyone's working.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
they're paying their bills and putting food on their tables. Yeah, it's a huge stress for sure. And it's not really a quick fix. Like, at least we can go through the process and call the other clients and see if it's going to work for them or if it's going to work for the designer, blah, blah, blah. But at least we have this great community to fall back on, to be like,
yep.
You and I can be like, hey Frank, just to let you know, we're a little bit delayed, we have a couple voids in our schedule. If you need help with anything, hey, just let us know.
Yep.
And we can reach out to other contractors that we have a good relationship with. So at least there's that community, which is a huge asset I'm very grateful for. And other than that, you just positive attitude, do the best you can, and usually good things come.
Yep. Keep pushing.
Yep.
And see what you can make happen. And then it all comes down to how good you can scramble at the end of the day, right? That's
for sure.
Yeah, when you're under pressure, and like you say, that's the real beauty of having a good community and good people around, is that opportunity for, the teamwork side of it. It's like, yeah, it might be my project, but I'm down to let you give me a hand here or there, just to create that good teamwork environment, and it helps everyone at the end of the day. So yeah, that's,
if it works on that project, then everyone comes out winning, right?
Yeah. And that some people are busy, some people are slow, but usually it can get sorted out in between.
Yeah, so that I'm grateful for sure.
And then in terms of do you have your full year fairly scheduled then? Like
so we're pretty well, we have just about every month pretty much slated. It was February, March right now, where we're a little slower than what we typically are. Yeah, we're basically slated until the end of the year. So on paper, we're good till about November.
Okay.
End of October, early November is where our last edition comes to play. And yeah, I usually leave like 4 to 6 weeks of a buffer. And I usually just put that at the end of the year, because it's natural that there's going to be delays.
Yep.
It takes one subcontractor, it takes one supplier, and then it can be delayed a week. And that one job is a week, and another job is a week, and your 6 to 8 jobs throughout that year, there's your 6 to 8 weeks or whatever, right? So.
And then it's Christmas, and everyone wants in for Christmas.
Right. First week of December, the phones keep ringing, and people want it all done. Basement, kitchen, bathroom.
Yeah, that's a smart way to look at it. Let's make it into November, and then December just implodes anyway.
Where's it go? Like all of a sudden it's December. Like the year flies by already, but then December is just like, oof, it's so crazy and chaotic, and
it's just that Christmas push is just a wild time, and in framing it's always
the weather with you guys too.
I laugh about it because it's fall, everyone's like, okay, I want to get this house in and I want to get it closed up before the winter.
Like the one we just finished.
Yeah. it's always the push, right? And it's crazy. October forward is just, it seems to be just chaos on the way out, and everyone's calling, hey, like we want to get this roof on. We get some really random ones, people are framing, but they're taking too long, like we want to get out and get it framed. I'm like, Kate, but
you're calling way too late.
You already started.
Yeah.
You're committed to who you're using, and that's fine. I mean, it doesn't mean that we're going to make it happen any quicker than they can, and they're already there. So what can we do about it?
Yeah, that was almost just like, in those situations, that's probably like either expectations not communicated, scheduling went awry, there's balls dropped, and that's when there's something like that. That conversation happens. It's like, well, what communication was had about this? Because timelines are timelines, right?
Yeah, and that's always one thing that I try to be super conscientious about is my schedule and my conversation about how that project's going to go.
It's important.
I really don't like promising timelines that I can't keep or are completely unreasonable for the team, because it doesn't help them either at the end of the day to be like, okay, so like apparently we have to work 20 hours a day for the next 6 days to try and catch up. It's like, and I think I've gotten a lot more reasonable with my timelines.
I'm trying to do that too. I'm trying to allow like more buffers into the schedule just because of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's life. Stuff happens. Right?
You just can't always be exactly, you know, on that kind of that one day of error, because I mean, it rains and all of a sudden, oh no, I'm out a day. Like that's no good.
Yeah, but even just like natural things in life, like someone loses someone in the family. Now they have to go to a funeral. Like, it's just, that's how it is.
Yep.
It almost seems like scheduling, timelines, even materials, that's a whole other discussion. But it seems like timelines were a lot simpler. It might just be my mind reminiscing in like pre-COVID. It just seemed simpler.
It did. I think we flew a lot more loosely before COVID, and the thing that that whole pandemic taught us and was kind of a new level of organization, because it wasn't like you could get something immediately that you in the past could just be like, yeah, no problem, tomorrow. You can pick it up tomorrow, I'll be here, no issues. Now we're finally getting accustomed and adjusted to that. Okay, it's 5 weeks, okay. Like that's okay, we can deal with that. But I mean, the last 2-3 years, we were not adjusted to that. We're like, what?
No.
Like, what's going on?
Even to go pick something up, you had to, what was it? Pickup lines or whatever,
The
parking spots where you had to call and pre-order.
Yeah.
That was annoying.
You're sitting out in the parking lot like, okay, when is this gonna come out of the store? That's
Like,
right
I just
there?
need a roll of tuck tape or
Yeah.
some nails. And then they bring it out to you and it's like, that's actually not what I asked for. I asked for 3 1/4 inch nails and you guys brought me 2 inch, and you're like, if I could just go in the store.
And I remember a couple of the suppliers started doing like the pre-booked times you could pick stuff up, because they were just getting too flooded. And it was like, okay, so I can't get tuck tape till 3:30 this afternoon, so
It was really hard to plan things. Like, it almost like, to me, it was almost like a schedule couldn't even exist, because you're like, how, this is nonsense.
you know, you send someone for something and they call you, you go, okay, well, like, how's it going? Well, I've been in the parking lot for 2 hours. You're like, what's happening?
Yeah, and there's our money. Yep, okay, there it goes. Yep, they're in a parking lot. Like,
But he might get it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get it today. I'm not quite sure,
I
but
hope we never go back to that. If we do, I think people are going to lose their minds.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, people are still dealing with that from projects that happened in that time frame where they're
Still getting materials or something.
yeah, whatever, furniture, fridges, stoves, like I'm
hearing about that a lot too. Yeah.
kind of confused about that whole side of the appliance thing, but
And why it's taking so long? Yeah.
when have we ever had to wait a year to get a fridge?
Like, I didn't know that there was like a computer chip in a fridge. But I guess there is now. Everything's electronic, but
Well,
it's like the cars are taking a year to get chips. I guess fridges and stoves are too.
oh, it's nuts. You're like, what? How is that a thing still? Like, haven't we returned to production and everyone's kind of, no.
Waiting that long, you'd be like, is it going to make my sandwich too? Like,
Yeah.
jeez. It's
It's
annoying.
so frustrating.
Like, I tell clients that, yeah, you should probably order your appliances like now. They're like, oh, well, we're not starting for a year and you might not be in here for a year and a half. Yeah, you should probably get those. Like, that's even asinine to say that.
It's wild.
Like, it's crazy.
And even deposit structures have changed in terms of contracts as well, right? Because, I mean, it used to be, you know, okay, Windows, you could get 6 weeks. That'd be like, well, that's a long time for these windows to come in. And now, you know, that's one of the first items ordered. Like the second everything's good, and
Lumber and windows, yeah.
yeah, the
Doors,
deposit
yeah.
has to change because you're not getting those items when we used to order them. Now it has to be done at the very onset.
Yep.
So I think, like you say, it's been a big transition, and it's just a different way of viewing how these projects actually roll out. You know, I had a client the other day who was like, oh, like, it's just a small sunroom. Okay, no problem. Like, we're gonna have to order your windows first. So like, well, can you start and I go, well, I don't really want to start and then have it sit here for 16 weeks. Well, your windows maybe show up on that timeline. Like that doesn't really do either of us any good.
Nope.
Because you're going to call me at least once a week, if not 5 times a week, asking if your windows have come in.
Yep.
I'd rather know that, oh, I'm a week out from windows and that's been guaranteed, confirmed, we're good. Okay, well, we'll now step into, you know, the bigger portion of framing or whatever. But I mean, you just can't see some of that stuff happening. I mean, a lot of houses we frame, they're 8 months, 10 months before they get windows and doors.
That's crazy. But also, I guess that's going to depend too on like product levels, right? Like vinyl windows, let's just say, we're just talking about windows. Vinyl windows is probably going to be a quicker ETA than, you know, aluminum cladded or fiberglass architectural windows where it's like triple glazed or there's a lot of details, right?
And really at the end of the day too, a lot of those delays actually come from more of like the lift and slides or the patio doors or front doors. Yeah. The doors are really the delay, and then the custom, like, you know, if it's a radius window or something like that. But it always seems to be the doors that actually delayed the entirety of the delivery. And that's one thing that we've put in our terms and conditions is we won't install unless all the product's on site, because that became like this wild process where, hey, I got 12 windows, 8 are still missing, and we don't have doors, and then it became a callback thing where we were going back to install what should have been installed in 4 days. We were going back 5-6 times as one piece would come in here and there.
And now you're losing money. Yeah, it's just not efficient. It's not efficient.
It became wild. It'd be like, oh, okay, so the garage door came in and the garage to house door came in. Okay, so we go out there for an hour and a half, put that in, then what do I do with the guys? Ask them to drive across the Niagara region to go somewhere else? We've really tried to limit the usage of that travel time, and everything has to be scheduled instead of that immediate response of like, okay, we'll get there today or early tomorrow, because it became very evident that was really killing our time and kind of the money side of things.
Well, yeah, when you go back and look at the numbers don't lie. Like, it's going to show you, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the only advantage of being like jobs that are close, like I know you work out in like Port Colborne, Wainfleet, Fort Erie, more like Erie stuff, quite prevalent. If you had like, say the one Wainfleet custom that you did there, and then like the other Port Colborne one, okay, maybe if you can like...
They're relatable, right? If
it's close and it can work, cool. If not though, like you said, you can't just be all willy-nilly. Like, that's crazy.
And especially for, you know, if it's a one-day job in its entirety, like a full day, working day, that to me is better than an hour job or a 4-hour job or a 6-hour job, because a 6-hour job, great, except for it doesn't fill the whole day. And what do you do with that time after? Do you create an expectation that they drive for 45 minutes to the next site and do an hour of work? No one wants to do that.
It's not fair to the team, and it's setting yourself up for weird, like, it's almost like that's a thing that has to happen, because like you feel like as the owner, like you have to keep them busy, and it's like, it's weird. It's just a weird feeling. Also,
the second job never goes well.
Because of the attitude, like they're already going to drive
and then it's a pressure thing. Oh, we only have an hour here to do whatever this task is, and people rush, or you know, they feel under the gun, or it turns into something that was an hour, then there was a mistake made, and all of a sudden, oh, we're gonna have to come back tomorrow because you know, this kind of got messed up or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, now all this just didn't make sense.
Yep.
And with our time tracking system that we use, we have included a travel portion. So now everyone can punch in to travel. And now we're really starting to see the data come back on that and analyze what travel time looks like versus on-site time. And it's very interesting to kind of start taking those numbers in. And back to my point is that it gives you some feedback on what makes sense and what doesn't make sense in terms of scheduling. Is it worth it to do all these little running around jobs? And how is the travel just being like crazy? Like it's just an overwhelming amount of travel and really not that much return.
Yeah. It's almost like you have to like forecast like a bunch of the little things, like the little to-do items that didn't get done on these projects, and like put them into like a rain day, or like but even that's even hard to like try and compute and think outside the box, and like, that's a hard thing. So like with all that said, like with like material delays and things that are just out of our control, in your process, do you like have these expectation conversations with clients or with builders and be like, hey, this is like, it's in our terms and conditions. I want to go over this with you and explain my expectations and hope yours are aligned and we can meet? Like, do you have those conversations?
I try and make it quite clear, and I feel that, most of our trade partners know me fairly well as someone that tries to be open and honest and like a straight shooter in that sense. So I'm not telling you a story or trying to make something better than it is. I would
just being realistic. Yeah. I'd
rather be honest and just be like, this schedule is totally blown.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you know what? I think we can hit this target, and I think that we're gonna get there, and create an expectation that's fair all the way around. I think, the last project we worked on, you go, I don't care, I just want it closed in for Christmas. I said, no problem at all. I go, that's fine, we'll do our best, and I think we can get it done, and we will just kind of like focus on the areas that are key areas to try and get us to that point, so everyone's happy. And
we communicated really well together. Like it was a weekly thing by email, by your site super, my site super. We collaborated, and even we worked together. Like you helped us out with demo, ripping off the back wall with your machine, even though it got stuck a couple times. You helped us putting in some of those big windows because the thing was massive. And like, we helped you with interior framing, making sure things moved along, and so on and so forth, right? Like, just let's get her done. There's a timeline. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I mean, that went really smoothly in terms of scheduling, and timing.
Well.
Everything went decently well according to plan, and I think that's like the outcome that I try and deliver on with everyone, is just like set a reasonable expectation and something that I feel my team can manage and achieve. Long gone are the days of me saying, oh yeah, it'll take 2 days, when in reality, it probably should take 5 days.
Yep. But that's just like a learning curve in our process and in our experience and like our failures. That's really what that is. And sometimes it sucks being like, like swallowing that pill, be like, yep, I definitely said that, and that was nowhere near. Or to even like look at the number portion and be like, okay, for instance, we allowed 30 grand for this particular item, and you look at it, everything's supplied and installed, you're like, what? 42 grand? You're like, crap. Ooh, that sucks. That's a big 12 grand off the top, right? These learning processes, and like, yeah, it's something.
I think on that topic, like defining scope of work and creating those scope of work documents,
it's important
for the trades. It's worth all the time you put into it, because like you say, those unknowns and those unexpected costs that always seem to appear out of nowhere. I do think that they can be mitigated better.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that this goes back to trade partners and making sure that they understand their scope of work, and also that by definition that we understand it is an estimate, but we do want that estimate to be as close as possible.
Yep.
This isn't a free floating, oh, you went over $15,000, no problem. That kind of massively turns me off when those things happen, because you're like, we gave you everything, and we do understand, unforeseen occurrences and things like that, but at the end of the day, you have to be close. And if you're reaching a point where you're not going to be close, then this conversation needs to happen.
Yep. It sucks, but it's going to have to happen. Yep.
And I would much rather work with a trade partner that identifies that 2 weeks ahead of that bottom line drop dead, oh, we're way over conversation. You're like, okay, why are we talking about it now? If you knew this was going to happen, then it should have been communicated a long time ago. So for me, that's like, I really hammer down on trying to make sure everything's encapsulated in those scope of work documents. And I mean, a lot of the trade partners, they're very good at understanding that value. So they, there's certain guys that I know, if they're giving me an estimate, they got it. And most of the time I know they got it by the fact that their price is higher than maybe some other people that would have priced that or whatever. The number might be like a little bit shocking and you're like, really? But they got it. And you won't see that crazy extras bill or have that weird conversation or have to deal with a upset client about how this was a great price, but you're actually here now, right?
Yeah, those are hard conversations that no one wants to have with the client, the buyer, whatever. It's just, that's a tough thing to bring up, especially if it's like a substantial amount of money. You're 100% right though. Like, all of that can be dialed right in and all prevented from like the pre-construction, like communication, like just expectations. That's all it is, just talking about it. Like, if you think you don't understand something on the prints or you're unsure about something, let's have a conversation. Because like, if you think that probably there's a good, it's gonna happen. Something's not right?
And that's it. The estimation of everything is so vitally important to us, because
I get nervous before I send estimates. I'm like, did I think about everything? And I'm going over it over and over it. I'm like, can't think about this anymore. It's hurting my brain. I just got to send this out and move on with my life.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's a lot of work.
It is. And that's why I think, having the best trade partners possible is what really helps the process. Because without being able to trust them and say, hey, like, I know that number is good and we're not going to have to deal with a messy situation later, I would much rather take that approach and have the conversation with a client that, wow, this price seems really high. You know what? I get it. That seems like a super high number, but what I will tell you is we won't have to have a conversation later about an extras bill. And on the framing side, that's how I try and run things. Like, people go, wow, that's a premium price. I go, yeah, you're right. And I think I have a decent reputation of not charging extras unnecessarily. It's not something that I really try to avoid it. Unless it's called upon, then I'm not going to do it. I just don't like it. I don't appreciate it. And I'd rather just give you an honest number and move on with my day. And if that seems wild, then it is what it is. But I I from experience can tell you, you're probably going to pay more to the person that didn't put their numbers together properly.
And then coming back and fighting for change orders and extras and yep.
Like, let's just put a real number out there. Make it real. Don't hide things. Don't, the classic one in framing is always cranes.
Not leaving like an allowance for it. Yeah.
Or in my case, it's I have equipment, so I'm putting an equipment number in there.
Of course, yeah.
I've heard a ton of times where a builder's gotten this, $8,000 crane bill at the end of the job. Well, crane wasn't included. Well, was that identified?
Yep.
I mean, a one-line quote, is that really giving you enough information to make your choice on what service you're getting?
Yeah, so you try to be as transparent as you can be right off the hop.
My estimates for, a custom house, 3-4 pages long in terms of scope of work. Like we create a framing scope of work, and that's what we're submitting. So, I mean, you're seeing exactly what's happening: basement level, first floor, second floor, porches, roof construction. Everything's broken down so you can kind of make sure that everything's in that estimate.
Yeah. And that probably makes things a little more streamlined for you, because now, like, you have your process, you probably have your whatever software system that you can be like, okay, let's focus on the basement. Let's get out of the hole. Okay, first floor. And then you can put all your numbers together. So you probably you're just dragging and dropping, or wherever your system works, and it makes it streamlined for you.
It streamlines it for me, because, like you say, once you kind of create these lists of items, then you're not missing things from job to job sort of thing, because you're adding or subtracting line items. There's an elevator in this one. There's multiple high walls, or whatever might be going on. The other thing it allows for too is the continuity from the office side to the field side, because we give the scope of work to our site managers.
Okay, yep.
So there's been plenty of instances where people always want a little bit extra. You know what? I think we're going to put a fireplace over here. Just, can you frame that up quick?
And they'll go back to it.
It's not in our scope of work. And we're not trying to be rude, and we don't mind helping out, but this is a company at the end of the day. We can be as nice as we want, and I don't know, maybe that costs $200 to frame. I don't know. But we're not doing it for free.
Yep.
And I think that's a mentality within the trades that was viewed as loyalty back in the day, that people would just do stuff for you.
And then we'll get you on the next one, or we'll help you out, or whatever the discussion is. But yeah, it doesn't help you now though, and this is what we priced for. This is the scope. It wasn't on there. It was approved. Unfortunately, it's going to be a change order.
And we will send you a documented change order with the pricing on it. Easy, simple, no problem. Our change work order has a couple different options in terms of how we deal with that, but it needs to be charged. It wasn't in the estimate, and yeah, I can be a nice human, but that really doesn't do anything for all the people trying to make a living if the company's not making money.
And I don't think you giving something or providing service as a no charge, I don't think that means that you're like a good human or a bad human. Either way you look at it, it's just business.
It's business.
At the end of the day, it's business. And we can all just go, it is what it is, but we're still going to be honest and transparent at the beginning. Like, I'm as transparent as I can be with my clients, like about our 3-stage process, right from the first consultation. I walk in their home or wherever I meet them, and then to what it's going to be at like actual schedule of payments.
Yep.
Like, it's like you have to have these conversations. It all has to be well communicated, documented, and we have systems in place for it. Like, so basically, like the client, the builder, homeowner, buyer, whatever it is, they have to be on the same page. Like we're at the beginning. Like you said, back to the first thing, like if there's any inclination of doubt, you're like, oh, this is not good. Something's gonna go bad here. This is not gonna be good. And then everyone's sitting weird about it, like through all the phases, like, and it just makes it really uncomfortable and awkward and doesn't need to be. Money is always a weird thing, is it not?
It's super hard. It's a super hard topic.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that. I think we all just overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be complicated.
No, and I mean, the thing that always makes me kind of laugh is when people argue about, like that I just want like that room moved. Like it's an hour of work. Okay, that's no problem. But do you go into a grocery store and haggle about the price of bread?
Valid point.
Do you go anywhere and say, I think this should be cheaper?
It's like when you go and get an oil change, your car serviced or whatever. It's like, well, Jiffy Lube or whatever XYZ, it's $60 and you're charging me $110. It's like, but it is what it is. Here's our product, here's our service.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. Like, you can get this, or you can get this.
To me, it's always wild when haggling becomes kind of how the deal's getting done.
And no one sits comfortable with it.
No, I mean, in framing, that happens a lot, and especially with kind of, the older school companies or that have been around for a while and kind of have a little bit of a different mindset of how business is done or was done or whatever. But like that drives me mental when people are like, can we just take like $5,000 off the bill? What do you mean take five? How does this work?
Yeah.
Like why? These aren't conversations.
No.
You don't go, I want to buy that motorcycle, but I don't like the price and this is what I'm gonna pay. Well, then you're not buying it.
Oh, you're not buying this package for it or this extra, whatever it is. Yeah, it's what do you want us to remove for that 5K value? That's really what it comes down to. That's what I always refrain it to. It's like, this is what we offer, and like, here's all the item pricing, and this is why it's this much. If you have any questions, let us know. If you don't like that overall price, then let's talk about how we're gonna reduce scope or reduce maybe grades of products or like something, but
we
like,
just won't frame the garage.
it's not gonna be, you're gonna get all of this scope for the exact same price for 10 or whatever the value is less, just because you think it should be less.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
It
can't work that way.
How do you come to that mindset though of like, okay, I got your price. Oh, now I'm gonna try and get your price down. Where did that come from? Why is that okay in construction?
It seems like this is the only industry that it's not acceptable to us, but it's acceptable in some people's viewpoints. And I don't understand why. Like, why? You don't go to any other trade, you don't go to a hairstylist. They go, this haircut's too much. You don't go to tradesmen, you don't go to fabricators, you don't, like auto mechanics, whatever the trade is, like it just seems like in construction, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And I don't get it.
And that's another, it's a tough pill to swallow as a carpenter because it's an unrecognized trade in Ontario.
Yeah,
which
for sure.
is an interesting one. But aside from that, like so you have a plumber. Plumbers have set rates. Okay. No one has an issue with that as long as he's got a license and, good to go. HVAC, same thing. Electrician. No one's gonna sit there and be like, think your hourly rate's too high. Can you drop that, $5-10 an hour? No one's gonna do that.
No.
And that's like, I feel those trades are much more consistent in terms of pricing. Like, yeah, you got some highs and lows, but for the most part, they're more regulated in pricing, it seems like, because it's an expected number already. Yeah, there might be that like $5-10 difference on manpower, but that's based on how good that team is, and they're gonna move more quickly and do it more efficiently or do a really nice job or whatever it might be. But when it comes to framing, it's like the door's wide open, and you can hire me, or you can hire the neighbor over there who just picked up a compressor at Canadian Tire and now is starting a framing crew. And he's gonna be way cheaper.
Of course.
But and that's it. The bottom line number at the end of the day. Everyone just goes right to the last number on the page and goes, "This is what I'm paying."
And it's weird because, like, in my mind now, like, being in this industry, speaking with different people, and like, maybe it's more entrepreneurs, maybe it's more construction, like, entrepreneurs that we get this just because, like, we know how it works. We see, like, we know how the numbers work, and we know how business transactions go and markups and everything. But it's like, it should not be tolerated that it's just, nope, I don't like that. That's the bottom figure. You can't do anything for me. No, it's like, no, we can do things for you, but we need to have a conversation. I'm not saying this is it, end all be all. No, let's have a conversation and let's see what you actually want, and I'll let you know if I can deliver that.
But that's the thing. Everyone always starts with a million asks.
Yep.
This is what I want. I want this. I want that wool stove. I want all that stuff. Oh, okay. Oh, this price is way too high. We're not going to do it. Okay. And like you say, you're asking for reasonability. Okay, so clearly what you've asked for, you didn't understand what you asked for. There's no way you could recognize, like, the scope that you've asked for. So how do we turn this project into something that you can handle and can do? Because if that list doesn't change, going to somebody else isn't going to change the price. It might, a little bit here or there, depending, and might go up or down a little bit, but it doesn't mean that that big number is going to drastically change. You're not getting what you want out of it. No one wants to spend money.
But it's got to be, whatever you're spending has to be, you can call it most bang for your buck, whatever, but what value does that actually serve you? Like, that's the way I look at it. I look at things as, like, value. Like, what is this gonna serve me? And, like, that goes back to, like, why are we even doing this? It goes back to, like, expectations, scope of work, budget. And it's like, we have to nail that right at the very beginning. So it's like, by the time you get to that actual, this is how much it's gonna cost, there shouldn't be a sticker shock. There shouldn't be a surprise. If communication was already had and we're open at the beginning going, well, just so you know, hardy board is gonna cost you more than vinyl siding. Or triple glazed windows with all these details is gonna cost you more than these vinyl. Like, all these expectations, like, it's just, you gotta be open and honest, or else you get to that final number and it's like, whoa! And it's like, well, why are you saying whoa? Like, I know that's what it is. Clearly, they're not understanding the scope of work. It's like they need to ask more questions, or I don't know, but, like, it happens a lot.
Be realistic.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's the biggest thing. It's just finding inspiration pictures
Pinterest?
of what you like means that's fun, that's great, but you also have to understand that you have to have that budget that's capable of withstanding
Reasonable, yeah.
the picture. That's not just like, you know, oh, that's just a couple grand in that picture. That's there's a lot going on in that picture.
Yeah, but even, like, those couple grand ticket items, it can be 20, 30 times. By the time it gets to the end, you're like, whoa, there's 100 grand. And you're like, well, that's what you asked for.
That's the picture you want.
That is what you painted.
We'll deliver that. But can you pay for that picture? That's the biggest conversation. And it's just, like we said, it's just mind blowing how many people don't really connect the two and how they go together. I mean, I've been kind of stopped asking people to go and explore different pages. I almost rather
Pages, you mean as in, what do you mean by
like
pages?
like House and Pinterest
Oh,
and
that's okay.
watching TV shows and stuff like that. I'm almost to the point where I would rather not get flooded with a bunch of inspiration stuff that's unachievable.
Yeah.
Because maybe identifying your budget and then working off your budget is a better plan than just saying, pick out what you like the most. Because those two are not relatable.
No, they're not. No. Like, whenever I sit down and talk with my clients about this pre-construction phase, before even selections, I basically do it right in front of them on a sheet of paper. The job title, whatever it is, here's the budget. And I ask them, what is your budget? And I'll just be like, I'm not asking you what's in your bank account. I'm not asking you, like, how much money you have or whatever, your salary. No, I'm asking, how much do you want to spend on this project? That's it. That's all I'm asking. Knock that over. That would have been bad. And then sometimes it's even hard to get through past that first budgetary question. It's like, it's almost as if, like, if they spit out something too low, I'm going to think of them like negatively, or like, oh, they're not keeping up with the Joneses next door. They just got, like, no, I don't care about that. I'm asking you, what do you want to spend on this project? And let's go through the must-haves. You give me this budget, your home remodel, and you have $800,000. Healthy budget for a full home remodel. Awesome. It's great. We'll put all the must-haves in there, and I'll help you with the budget. We'll go through, we'll create ranges, price ranges for each one. What's left over, now let's create the wish list. You really wanted that pot filler. You really wanted that archway in your kitchen, or your whatever it is.
Everyone wants that pot filler.
It's a thing now. Yeah, whatever, right? But like, that's how I do it. I create that division.
Yeah.
This is the must, this is like the want. The need, the want. Let's go from there. Let's start basics 101. Let's start there, and then let's come back in a couple more weeks and let's see where you're at, and then we'll go on to an actual estimate. Because I personally, I hate now doing like 6 to 8 estimates for a job. It's so much time.
It costs so much money that people aren't necessarily paying for.
No.
And
I have to eat it all the time, and it sucks. It's a lot of my time.
And that's like, a lot of consultants are pushing on the fact that you need to charge for your estimates. You need to charge for every second that something's happening. You gotta pay, make people pay. And I go, yeah, no, I understand that, but I don't think in residential construction that 95% of the clients are up for having that discussion.
Yeah.
That's not something they're doing, because anyone else will give them a free estimate. So unless you have a client list that's 500 clients deep and everyone wants to go this year sort of deal, then you might have some opportunity to start saying, okay, well, I'm going to start playing the money game, and if you got money, then maybe we'll kind of jump you up in the queue. But it's something that all construction companies lose out on is time of estimating. Yep. And that's why, that's where this letter of intent came from, was just to try and get...
I like that idea.
Get it started. We have the conversation, we kind of give some rough budget conversation numbers, nothing fixed, and kind of just talk through the process. And then once we've identified that, okay, like, yeah, this budget's not the worst number I've ever seen, and we've met you a couple times potentially, we're comfortable with you and your team, then okay, here's a letter of intent, so we know that we've kind of got you on our side and we're headed in the right direction, versus putting in a ton of time and effort and nothing comes of it. It's the worst feeling in the world.
Yep.
You spend 68 hours on something just for someone to go, no. You're like, why? Why'd I do it?
Yep.
So,
and I think it's always hard because like I want to charge for my estimates because I'm very detailed. And even with my conversations, I'll go and meet someone at their home and it's like, it can be a 2-hour consultation. And like, that's my 2 hours I'm never gonna back of my profession. Like I'm the professional. Like I'm not trying to gloat and be like, whatever, but like.
well, it's true though, right?
You
Like,
called me here to provide you with knowledge and we're gonna meet each other and see if we're even compatible first. And go from there. But it's like, yeah, like if we just sent them an invoice for that consultation and then, or put it on the estimate, I don't even know how, but like I guess I can sneak it in there or whatever, but it's like after all the revisions, like how are we sneaking on all this time? We just keep throwing, like, I don't even know if I'm comfortable putting like that in my terms and conditions. Be like, for each hour of consultation, you're gonna pay this much plus a change order, like, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's weird to think that I need to start charging for my consultations.
but your time's worth something.
I know, but it's like, what I feel weird about is that client gonna have pushback? Are they gonna be like, no one else does that. We've never heard this before.
And you're 100% right. That is what happens, right?
Yeah.
Because how many trucks do we drive by that say free estimates on the side of them everywhere? Mm-hmm. And it's like, really? So, especially, let's say roofing companies or plumbing companies, how much money a year gets wasted in estimates?
Probably more than we want to talk about.
Like high volume, kind of quick turnover work. How many estimates are people sending out and spending time on that is you just don't get it back? There you get literally nothing out of it.
Yeah, maybe this is a thing where we have to start implementing that, right? Like if you're really serious to price your custom home project or your addition, your remodel, this is what it's gonna be. Because this is gonna be X amount of slated hours. And yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's why I'm trying to identify commitment or feasibility of project before getting that,
too far into it.
Yeah,
Yep.
And you're just like, oh, no, I'm into it.
And now you're into it. And you're like, crap. We should have our
Or just that that email or phone call that say, we're not doing it. It's like, okay, well, I'll just go delete this whole file that I've been working on, throw in the garbage can, burn it, I don't care, but now it's all a waste of time. I guess another topic that's interesting to me is safety.
Safety is in safety on site?
Safety on site, and just the general conversation of trade partners being on a schedule and being safe on our respective sites and what that looks like.
Okay.
So,
it sounds like you have a topic in your head that you want.
well, it's interesting, right? Because as a contractor, you know what happens when the Ministry of Labor shows up and they just want to go after you. Okay, well, you got to do this, you got to do that. And then you have to try and translate that down to your trades. Okay, all of you have to be safe.
And they're like, yeah, easy 4-letter word. Safe, you got it, boss. But really, there's a whole lot of other things like training and protocols and paperwork, documents. You guys are really good with that. Like, I must say, the Bella Vista project, you guys had everything like... And it was great because it made that inspection a lot easier than it could have been.
Well, we've learned some hard lessons, right? It hasn't always been as set up as we're at in our current stage, and there was a lot of, like I said, a lot of hard lessons to get to that point. But my thing is it's. To me, you almost have to incentivize it in some sort of way to capture people's attention. Because
if you're not safe, this is going to happen and you're going to get this fine, or this is what's going to happen. This is the repercussion of it.
So one thing that I recently have employed, which I think you'll find very interesting, is we subcontract out framing work. from time to time. And so what I did is the company sent me an estimate for the project. I said, you know what? Won't argue with you. There's the value. I go, when do you think, you tell me the timeline on this, when's your drop dead date that you're gonna be done framing it? And be comfortable with that number. It's winter time, like, think about it. And they go, okay, you know, they thought about it, so they kind of put a date together, kind of a week timeline on it. And I said, okay. And I go, how is your safety program? Because at Frank & Co, that is an extremely strong value, and that is something we don't play around with. And they go, well, you know, we have hard hats. And I go, okay.
Oh boy.
I go, that's fine. But obviously, we're not going to allow you to just be cowboys out there. You are representing the company at the same time. We want you to be safe as well. We don't want anyone getting hurt, and we most certainly don't want to be responsible for one of you getting hurt for just kind of generally being unsafe. Like 90% of framing crews are. You're going to have to kind of change your mindset and change how you interact daily with safety items on site. I go, okay. I go, I don't know. I go, Dylan, we gotta think, we gotta come up with some other way of doing this. And so what we did is we wrote a safety bonus in.
To that subcontractor.
Yeah, we'll give you the value you priced it out at, and we're going to take a portion of that and turn it into a time frame bonus, so schedule bonus, and a safety bonus. If you're on timeline, you get the full value of the project. And the way it ended up working was we did about 10% of the project, which the project's a decent size, so it's a relatively good chunk of money. So 5% for safety, 5% for being on time.
Okay.
Now, so that's how you get the full value of the project. You fail at either of those items and you start losing money.
Like, you mean like losing money off of what they actually estimated, or losing money off of
the total,
like their bonus?
The total value of the project.
Okay.
So, okay, you know, you have a Ministry of Labor inspection that goes wrong and you get nailed for hard hats. There's a 25% reduction from that bonus number.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So you get 4 shots at it before you totally lose your safety bonus. And we made the time one really easy for someone to like achieve. It wasn't like we were trying to put people under the gun too much. So they would have to go 50 days over the allotted time from when they said they were going to be done to completely lose their time bonus.
Oh wow, 50 days.
Yeah, it was like, we did it really simply, just like 1% a day sort of thing, just because I mean that fair is fair. I'm not going to say like 2 days and all of a sudden that whole bonus is gone.
Yeah.
But that's how you get the full value of your estimate.
Gotcha.
And I was thinking that it's an interesting way of also handling trade partners. So yeah, okay, you're plumber, or electrician or whatever. You know what, guys? No problem. Like your estimate's good, but we are gonna take 10% of it and turn it into a bonus structure. Because it makes people responsible.
Yeah.
Because, okay, maybe I should be safe because then I do get my full estimate, but it also gives you confidence knowing that there's a reward if they mess up.
Yeah, I like that. Have you had anyone decline that proposal or that way of doing it?
No, I haven't really run across a situation where it was just like outright refused or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, I think most people in construction understand that there has to be safety repercussions, but no one's ever put value to it. There's no reason to do it.
It's true. There's not really an incentive to be safe other than the most important thing. You're going to go home at the end of the night and see your family. That's all people, that's it. They're like, yeah, whatever. We didn't fall off the roof or we didn't fall off whatever.
Because the first day they were on site, you said you have to work safely. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I guess we do undervalue safety. Like, you're right. Like, that's very critical. It's very important on every job site. And yeah, there's got to be protocols in place.
And even time, right? Because, the thing is that's how we get in these weird scheduling situations where maybe you're getting pushed off a little bit so they can finish another job sort of thing. And there's all these games that get played with that as well. The parts weren't in, this didn't happen. I couldn't get there. The 8 guys were off sick. Great. But at the end of the day, a lot of times there's not justification for those excuses.
Yep.
So for me, when I kind of thought about that setup, I was like, this really makes sense to me. And if someone proposed it to me, I would do it 100%. Because then it gives validation for having a proper safety program and having things in place for your team and your staff, and it gives value to it.
For sure.
What am I gonna do? Drive by site once a week and be like, oh, they're not wearing hard hats. Oh, there's no guardrails on the windows.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you need to put guardrails up. What do I go there every day and try and?
No, you don't have time for that. Number
harp
one.
On people?
No. Yeah.
No.
But this also holds them accountable. Accountability is a huge thing. And we find that a lot too. Like you said, the excuses thing, like, oh, we didn't get there because of this, or we couldn't start that date because of material, or yes, it sucks. Material one is out of our control, but there's a lot of those excuses and a lot of reasons where it's like, no, like, you don't want to be the guy to be like, yeah, sorry, Bob, Bill. No, you got to be here. You said you were going to be here. Like, those aren't justified. So yeah, that incentive, I like that. And
the thing too, and I know we're both like-minded in this, to us, we're not looking to get the cheapest trade. It's not about oh, wow, he's really inexpensive, we're gonna go with him and maybe we'll make some money on that one or whatever. So with that being said, we're dealing with generally more professional companies, and I think that they really understand that cost consequence. And okay, you're giving me an estimate. We know it's probably higher than some other people we could go to and get the work done. So our return is, we'll give you that estimate price, no problem. But we're gonna have a little bit of control on the safety and production side of things. And now we have an enforceable way of doing it, and it's up to you to make the full value of your contract.
So you have that in basically obviously it's a subcontract because it's a trade partner, but it's like a back and forth. Like, they send their estimate and then you send a counter and be like, this is our terms to this? Because this is honestly, this is the first time that I've had this interaction about this incentive-based thing.
So we'll usually send it out for pricing. We'll see what a subcontractor wants to do framing wise on cost, and I think that's why we're a little bit different, because we don't just straight up offer a value. I don't say, hey, I'll give you $10-12 a square foot to do this. I'll let you tell me what you want for it. Whether or not it really makes money for us at the end of the day isn't always the conversation. Sometimes there's a little bit, other times it's more just to kind of either keep a customer happy or bring in some new clientele and things like that. I mean, a lot of people just enjoy the comfort level of dealing with a company like ours in terms of our office and things like that. It's just, you know, especially people from out of town, because they want that setup. They don't want to call some guy that's never going to answer his phone or doesn't have anything set up, or they just want, okay, we want a professional company taking care of our framing.
Well, it's better for the client. They get more out of the whole project. Like they're going to feel like they've been catered to. They're going to get the customer experience that they deserve, that they need. It makes the experience that much better and easier.
And that's like, you know, that's the interesting part is out of town people too. It's sometimes challenging for them to get to the site potentially. I mean, they might want to be there 3 times a week. They're just not getting there. So then our return to them is, hey, if you'd like, what we can do is we'll send you progress pictures. Weekly update, full schedule update, what occurred on site, what happened, what material was delivered, photos of the progress and everything like that. And 9 times out of 10, out of town people are in love with it because they're like, this is fantastic. I don't have to feel like I need to come down every week and like monitor the progress and
have a billion questions and need to feel like, you know, like if they're not there, stuff's not getting done or whatever their feelings are.
Oh, is anything happening? Like, it definitely decreases stress levels. We use our safety reps to also do random site inspections. And that carries a value with our safety bonus as well. So just here and there we go in, we have full inspection reports for safety items, and whether or not anything's said, they just go around and make sure guardrails are in place, make sure there's hard hats on heads, steel toe, all the normal stuff. I mean, we did one the other week and there was no first aid kit, no fire extinguisher, no 2 out of 3 had hard hats. Like, it was like...
That's basic stuff right off the hop.
And, you know, Elena went, did the inspection, and...
Oh, there was probably some pushback with that naturally, right? Or no?
Well, it's kind of one of those things that you have to understand that in today's day and age, women can be in construction. And secondly, you might want to be nice to her only because she controls that bonus.
That's another thing,
You don't really want to push the button too hard if you already have tons of safety violations, and then maybe get a little more of a reaction because you wanted to make some comments.
Well, in the end, this is only helping them, like you said before. This is making sure that, like, if you have everything in check, if or when ministry shows up, there could be no infractions for ministry, and they're going to be happy and be like, "You guys are great."
And now they're not going to have 25% of your safety bonus also.
And now the ministry inspector is not going to be like, "Oh, we got to come back next week because of XYZ." Now they're like, "Oh no, like maybe I'll be a little lenient." Like, they got their stuff in order. It's a win-win. I think I'm gonna start implementing this.
And it doesn't, like, any good reputable trade company, this should be no issue for them.
No, it shouldn't. It should just be second nature. It should be, yep, we got that in place. Here it is.
Okay, no problem. We totally understand. Fine. When someone pushes back, then there might be an issue. Well, why are those bonuses weird to you? What makes it not okay? Because the way you lose your safety bonus is just based on MOL inspections, if any happen. So maybe you get an inspection, maybe you don't.
So if there's, sorry to cut you off, if there's no ministry inspection on one of your sites, and say one of your safety inspectors, your in-house staff, had a couple of their infractions, how does that work with the bonus?
So we have cited minor infractions as like a 2% loss if we wanted to apply it.
Gotcha.
And then we did put in a little higher percentage for like drastic safety situations. So if a piece of equipment was being misused or not set up properly, or you know, the 100 million different things. Maybe there's some really shady scaffold built.
Right.
That those kinds of things where it's like glaring infractions and just like, I don't care about safety. Those are gonna earn you some demerit points for sure.
Good, and respectably so. That's a huge thing. Yep, your site's got to be safe, not only for your reputation, your business, but for their own safety, number one, and it's just gonna overall be better. Yeah, I like that.
It makes them better. And you know, most times it's that initial meeting or initial inspection where they're just like, what? And we're like, well, like, really, this is what it looks like. And it's better that we're doing it versus a ministry of labor person.
100%.
Because
and they should be appreciative of that. If not, well, then they obviously don't understand the value in safety, right?
And yeah, I mean, it's a very heavy program to run, as you know. But I think once you get the process in place, it becomes a lot easier to manage and deal with, for sure. But yeah, the safety bonus and time bonus are interesting.
Yeah, I think I should start implementing those. What other things that you got up your sleeve, incentive-wise?
Well,
Speaking of incentive-wise, do you have anything like in-house, like incentive? I know you were doing the picture thing with your employees.
So there's that where that was a really creative, fun way to be able to capture some media content, as well as we get snaps of site progress. It's just like a fun thing for everybody to do. But the new team management software that we have in place has a reward system on it now.
Oh, really? And
they're coins. So I can hand out coins, and it's like a bank. So you an employee, okay, well, I got 10 coins today for wearing my hard hat. Or whatever it might be. So these coins are equatable. I'm trying to think. It's like 25 coins is $10 or something like that.
Okay.
And then there's a gift card list, and you can just click on a gift card and choose that.
No way.
And I think there's like 50 different cards. So you like Home Depot, like restaurants, movies, whatever you want. Video game ones.
You guys have really thought about this incentive-based like roles here. This is great. Yeah.
Right? It's fun because it's, like I say, it's like a bank, right? So it's not like you're giving someone a $25 gas card or a prepaid Visa or something like that. They can collect them. They can save $500 worth and get a $500 gift card to Home Depot. They can do whatever they want with it. And it accrues. So it allows us the opportunity, instead of making things massive incentives, so it's like, okay, this year you did great, and now here's $500 worth of gift cards. It's more small rewards, more frequently, so that it becomes a better incentive. You're just, you're getting something more constantly.
And it's not like, they come into your office and I've been doing real good, boss. Like, I think I need like a $1 raise. Like, they're gonna forget about that raise in a couple weeks.
Biggest problem about raises.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets about that raise. Then you're like, I need to make more.
Oh, gas is more expensive now. I got that one. A little bit. Gas is more, so we're gonna need a raise. Or this is more, whatever it is, right? Like life is more, and I understand that, like really fair. But what you're saying, dude, that's great about the incentive based. It keeps people, I don't know, almost like more excited. Engaged, excited to do the job that they've been hired to do, but also like, yeah, it just seems a little bit of like a competitive nature, but fun.
It's fun and it gives you your choice.
Yeah.
You can do what you want with it. You can save, you can buy a gift card, you could say, hey, we want to go to the movies tonight. Hey, let me check. I might have enough for us to go to the movies. I'll just get this gift card.
Wicked. Okay. So I'm gonna like rewind this like video later on down the road and bring it up to the team and be like, hey, what do you guys think of this?
Yeah.
Frank said it worked great, so if it doesn't, I'm blaming you. No, I'm just kidding.
It's fun because the nice thing too is like, okay, so our target is we're hitting this timeline on a job, and you know, Greg calls and goes, hey, we nailed it. I go, you know what? And then you just go and you put in, like in this program, on the main feed that everyone can see, hey, you know, great job team, you guys accomplished this goal, and give everyone 50 coins. And you don't have to be there. You don't have to do anything. You can simply just do it from your phone and away you go.
All right, I'm gonna get the details, like the app details and everything from you later, so we don't drag this one out. But yeah.
But that's the thing. I did want to incentivize, and I wanted to understand how to motivate people at a high level and give them a way of being kind of in charge of that incentive, or they get to pick the reward they want.
Yeah, versus like this is what it is. It's a dollar based, or it's a gift card to the Keg or Home Depot or whatever it is. They get to choose what the reward is, or like you said, just keep accruing it until they want to cash out.
Yeah, you can get a HomeSense card. You can do whatever you want.
Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yeah, you can go to Best Buy. It doesn't matter because it's your choice. And also, I think that giving rewards out at it's always been like $25 is like the smallest like gift card or whatever you can get, right? Well, that's not always a $25 thing.
Yeah, like that's not like for that task or that reward is not worth $25 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you went to site and you saw, like the guys did a great job making sure all the guardrails are on the windows, everything's safe, you could be like, you know what? You guys did a great job like making a safe site. 10 coins each, 15 coins each. It's about getting something. That's what we all love.
Yep, for sure. Yep, we all like to feel like whatever role, whatever responsibility that was delegated to us, we fulfill it and like it's been appreciated.
Yeah.
It's been reciprocated where it's like, yeah, we really like, you know what I mean? Like we feel as like a team, as an individual, we feel appreciated. There's nothing worse where you go above and beyond to make sure that it got done on time or even sooner. And it's like, yeah, I got there. It's good. Like, so I've been sort of asking our team and none of them had answers. None of them, I'm like, hey, what incentive do we want to do? Like we brought it up last year and early this year and they're like, oh, I don't know, I guess I have to think about it. Rob's like, yeah, whatever, you can give me a week off. I can do stuff at my house. I'm like, you just book in a vacation. And then Joel's like, I don't know, like, do we get like a bonus if we finish the job early? Like, this is what we're talking about, so let's all explore these options. I'm liking this one though.
And it works really well because it's all within this app and this program. So in terms of bookkeeping and accounting side of things, it makes it a lot. Really,
that's a whole other.
It's very smooth that way, right?
Okay.
Because you can purchase large amounts of coin. right? So it's like 1,000 coins is $100 or something like that.
But this is not like a Bitcoin thing.
No. It's
okay.
just like, it's part of the app is their coins. You get your
And that coin has,
coins.
like you said, it's like whatever 10 of them is worth $25 or whatever.
Whatever, yeah. How does anyway? I'll show you it after. But
Cool.
Yeah, it's like you can buy like 1,000 of them for $100, and then you have it in your section as admin, and then you can dole those out accordingly, however you want.
Cool.
But that purchase is just one receipt purchase, and you now can categorize it properly.
So whatever you need it to be in for the books to be clean. Yeah, that makes sense.
Instead of like 50 gift cards.
Right? It's just like, this is what it was for this month.
Yeah, and it avoids the question too, because I mean, that's a thing that accountants will say is, okay, but like, where did these gift cards go? Are you using them personally? Like, you know what I mean? Trying to keep that distinction different, because we could all go buy grocery cards and say that we gave them out, or we could use them personally and go that route. But that's fraud, and if you get caught, then it's not great, right? So this kind of gives a little more like legitimacy and organization to it's actually a bonus or incentive program.
I like that. Now, other programs within your company, do you guys get into like RSP contributions and stuff like that? Because like we're talking about this where it's like, hey guys, like we can keep doing the whole raise thing, but at this like some point business wise it doesn't make sense, because numbers are numbers. 2, are you really gonna like that raise? Or do we do RSP contributions or look at different benefit packages and stuff, right?
And that's a big one for me is benefits, the RSP, those ones, we have looked into them in the past. I was really surprised outright 2 years ago, my team in its entirety said no one wanted benefits.
Really?
And it was offered. And I was like completely shocked and mind blown, and I'm like, is everyone sure?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're good. A lot of them had like spouses that had benefits already. And we had some younger staff that I just don't think
we even used them.
Yeah, the idea of benefits just wasn't like, oh, we want that sort of thing. Because, everyone looks at it, it's costing us money. But with more maturity and kind of some staff that have a little different mindset on that, I think that we will be able to explore that opportunity again and get into benefits. And RSPs, I would love to do them because I am a huge advocate for chatting with my team on a personal level if they want to have that kind of open conversation about what to do with their money. Because a lot of times, like, they're young people or whatever, and they've never really been taught what to do with money.
Yeah, they don't know what they don't know. Yeah.
Right? And I really enjoy having those conversations with people, kind of like, so like, and I always let everyone come to me on that topic because it's not my place at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me. It's
and you're not gonna go gloating about like, oh, like this is what I did when I was a kid. No, that doesn't matter. It's not about you.
And you don't want to do what I did as a kid anyways. I was a train wreck, so.
Yeah.
But
that'll be SteveBuilt Frank & Co. After dark.
It was not good. I didn't know what to do with money. But I want everyone to do well. I want them to realize that like the conversation of just saying, hey, I want more money isn't maybe the best reaction. That's more of like a knee-jerk reaction. That's fueling a fire. But if you kind of maybe do some budgeting and some other things, some saving.
See a financial advisor. Yep, get accounts lined up.
Just take a minute and go, what can I do with what I got? Because saying I need more to be able to do that isn't really an answer.
And maybe you're not set up right now to do what you're already currently doing, but there's just a better way to do it, right?
There's always another way to look at something, right? And I always say, is $25 a month gonna kill you? And everyone goes, well, no. Well, then why don't you start there? I mean, you can go to Tim Hortons 5 times a week.
Oh, jeez.
So why can't you take $25 a month and go put it into something that...
Buy lunches every day, that adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but some, like you said, some people get it that are like a little older, a little more mature. They get it, like they have their house, that they have wife, maybe kids, and they already have stuff set up, right? And then maybe some benefit packages aren't good for some employees, but RSP contributions are.
Yep.
So it's like, you sort of have to cater to like, try to cater as much as you can to each employee as best as you can, but you can't be like, I'm gonna give you everything, because that's not how this world works.
And benefits are all or none. It's not like...
Yeah, you have to use them or you lose them. Like you can't be like, I want all these benefits and then only use eye or dental and not worry about the other stuff that they offer.
And it can't be 3 out of 10 people that want them.
Yeah, because now it's not even like $0.01. It doesn't even make sense for the company.
No, it's either everyone in its entirety on the team or nobody. It's for me, it's one or the other. And we will revisit that, and I'm sure that that's going to be one interesting conversation. But I do think that we have a fairly mature staff with a different viewpoint than a couple of years back. So I think that will be something that is coming up. But and that's the thing too, is developing a professional company costs money. And those costs all end up being translated down to the consumer, the builder,
You're right,
whoever, right?
That's the overhead costs. Yep.
And that's another battle, because it isn't the same across the board. So, typically framing crews don't have benefits. That'd be like...
Yep. Or they even do any of what we just spoke about the safety incentive, for the actual reward incentive for your employees. A lot of those things don't exist. A lot of them don't even have an office, Frank.
I get it. Yeah.
So like that comes back to like at the very beginning when you're speaking with a client, like what are we actually comparing to here? Like what is your most value? Like what do you want out of this? And like, yes, there's going to be someone cheaper. Yes, there's going to be someone below, like middle, above me. Like there's always going to be, but like, are we comparing apples to apples? What are you getting out of by hiring Frank & Co., by hiring SteveBuilt? What are you getting out of it?
And do you appreciate the setup of the company? Do you appreciate that we have gone above and beyond in terms of our industry and trying to make sure that our team is taken care of? They have, perks and rewards and benefits and all these kinds of things. Like, does that setup mean something to you? Because if it doesn't, then I get why you're going to go somewhere else.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
And
that's fine too.
Yeah, and that's fine. But if you go, okay, well, like we respect that, and most people in office jobs or different fields of profession have benefits.
Yep.
So saying to them, this is all part of the costing and things, it's not really a surprise. I have benefits too with my company, so obviously the company factors that in.
Yeah.
So there's companies doing the same thing.
It shouldn't be a discussion.
Yeah.
It should be, here it is.
Just a normal thing. And
but it's not like we're putting in our costing. It's not like
No,
our
no,
overhead fees include incentive.
not limited to.
Right? The K gift cards. What? No.
But yeah, that's the thing, is like it's just that image, and that you put off for your company, that brand, that sale on that brand that you're trying to communicate.
Yep.
So, I think prospective clients do take it into consideration at some level, and the clients that don't aren't necessarily always our clients.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's what it comes down to. Like, right back from the beginning, like, this is who we are. This is how we do business. This is our process. This is what we have to offer.
Yeah.
That's it.
Straightforward, simple, transparent, honest, and that's the things that should be important to the next customer.
Versus just looking at the bottom line and being like, yeah, no, or yeah, 100%, right? We should go through all these things together and discuss it. Like, do you find, maybe in your head's a little bit different, do you find certain estimates you need to either follow up with the client, either with a meeting in your office or a phone call, or is that something that you just, it's in protocol that you always do? Like, you're gonna follow up X amount of days after you submit an estimate to them, or you have to like?
I have an interesting mindset on that. So framing estimates, I don't really go after people too much. Like, it's a little bit more loose on that forefront. But if it is an estimate for some contracting job, then what I always try and do is give that estimate and also set up a follow-up immediately. Okay. So there's no lag.
Right.
So I'm giving you an estimate on Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon. I go, okay, here's your estimate, everything like that. Would you have time at 2 p.m. on Tuesday to talk? To create that secondary engagement right away.
Still fresh.
And get that commitment.
Yep.
Because how many times do you send something out and you're waiting weeks and you're like, what happened? Is everything okay?
Did they actually review it? Yeah, did they get it?
Am I in the running? Am I like, what happened, right? And that's another sales tactic or issue, is that it becomes a dead end because there is no follow-up and there was no real like pressure for them to maybe kind of think about making a choice. It's just it's just not communicated, and it's, if no one kind of pushes that button a little bit, then it's not.
It's hard too, like, as carpenters, we're not like salespeople by nature. We don't want to talk about ourselves. We don't want to talk about like our skill set and like, it's really like, I never like to boast. I never like to be like, I'm going to be the best general contractor, you have to hire me. It's like, no, like, this is what I have to offer. Hopefully it works for you and we'll go from there. It's really hard on a sales front to be pushy and try and do sales, because I'm not a sales dude. I never was a salesperson. I'm just a carpenter. I'm just a tradie making a business of it. It's hard. It's a whole other mindset.
I don't have the people-pleasing side for a salesperson as much as like a salesperson needs. And like you, I feel that I do struggle with that as well, because I'm not necessarily always wanting to please people. And sometimes that's a massive disadvantage for me, and sometimes it's fine. I have obviously reeled it in quite a bit from previous attitudes, but it's an adjustment, right? And now I just try and be straight with people. We're in the industry, and now we've had to become business people at the end of it. And that's a whole nother profession to learn.
Oh, it is? Yeah.
So, things change, and that's fine. But we also have to change with it, and our level of understanding has to change. It's really weird. It is super weird and different from, dealing with anything else, for sure.
I like your approach though about following up like 24, 48 hours, whatever after. It's a good way to do it versus
Try and
just
set
waiting.
that meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Just say, okay, so I'll see you, whatever, 2 days from that time of estimate. Let's set a meeting up for that date.
Let's talk about it. Yep.
Because you're also going to get a good feel for the client's perspective if they're like, yeah, I'll review it and I'm good to set that meeting up. Or they're going to turn into the client that, well, I'll call you when I'm ready to have the meeting. You kind of can start seeing how maybe this transaction is going to go with the person.
Yep. So like we've been doing it a little differently. So we submit our estimates through our program. They see it in their email, review it, hopefully. And then I have Amber follow up like a week later.
Yep.
So I might take some of your advice and doing it a little bit sooner, maybe 48 hours, and to see if they have any questions. And then we can actually, maybe versus email, let's actually go have a coffee and let's actually talk about this in person.
And
'Cause
that's
probably
get in
a
front
better
of them.
interaction. Yep.
Get in front of them because they are going to have had to review it if they're having a meeting with you. And the meeting isn't to sales pitch them into using or committing to the project or whatever it might be, but it's so that first they do review it in a timely manner. Second, you give them 2 or 3 weeks, that gives them the opportunity to go out and price you. Which you don't really want the people having the opportunity. That's why, you kind of say, like, if you like everything and you like me, maybe this is a good setup, and you could capture it a little bit earlier than letting it kind of fade off, right?
Yeah, I like that approach. I think we're gonna try that one too, with the other reward incentives.
I'll show you that program. You will like it,
Good.
and it's really straightforward to use, and it has a ton of other things in there too that I think you would really find beneficial. It's a great program. So, and we went through, I want to say it was almost a year and a half of running different like team programs that just bombed miserably, and it was so much work to like set them up, and we'd run them for a couple months and just be like, nope, this one's no good, and then we'd do another one and it'd be, that's no good. But it was a lot of trial and error to get to where we're at with this one. And
So I'll just live vicariously through your experiences.
you don't want to do what we did on team management. The programs were nuts. There's so many varied programs. It was just wild. But this one's really, really cool to put together. So
Awesome.
yeah. How are we doing on time over there?
We feel good. I mean, you guys can probably
1:45?
Sum it up if you want.
I'm hungry.
Wanna wrap it up here?
Okay, so let's do a good chat.
Yeah,
Peace.
that's a good one. Now, so yeah.
Gotta go.
All right. Well, so this year, I mean, you've got the year pretty well filled out. You're looking in good shape. We have the year pretty well filled out, except for I'm not sure exactly of commitment levels. That's kind of my undetermined factor right now.
There's a grayscale, yeah. And I think, I don't want to just throw it out there that everyone's feeling that way, but I've talked to different businesses as well, and they are getting the same vibes. That there's some like in the air stuff, like they're waiting to hear from their banks, whatever advisor, whatever lenders, right? And it's weird to throw the confidence just in that interest rate alone to be like, yeah, either we're gonna do this big project or not. Like you said, we're never gonna get back to what it was, so let's all just structure and prepare for what we are now.
Yep. And I'm hoping as the year progresses that we see maybe something in the third quarter where the interest rate drops even a point.
It'd be nice.
Because I think that market confidence would come back as, okay, like, it's not just continuing to climb, but there was some sort of drop. And that, I think the confidence that would provide would be massive across the board in terms of lending.
Well, even with our materials, like, I know our material ETAs have decreased huge. So a lot of windows now were like 8 to 10 weeks versus before 16 to 32 weeks, months. Lumber, now we can get in a couple weeks for most part of lumber. Some stuff still. Trusses, you know, we're 6 to 8 weeks now versus 12, 16 before. So things like COVID-wise have actually sort of been controlled, and we're starting to get back to normalcy, I guess we can say. But like the normal now, not before COVID.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if, like, as a society, as a community, we all just understand, like, okay, this is what we have to face. These are changes that we have to make, and let's move on with our lives, because, like, we can't keep looking in the rearview mirror. There's not doing any good.
And that's the thing is it's that driving situation. You don't drive and look in front of your car. You look down the road.
Yep.
And I think that it's been such a weird drive, and the last 2-3 years you might as well have been blindfolded.
Yep.
And now we're just kind of getting out from under the weirdness, and everyone's trying to kind of see straight again, and then there's a lot of hesitancy in
Yeah, you're right.
getting back out there, you know what I mean? But I think this year, late year, I'm hoping that things start kind of coming back around. I know I've been looking at different clientele. That's one thing that I've worked fairly hard on, is kind of developing a different clientele than what has been normally our clientele over the past couple of years. We're looking for a different group of people, and we're not necessarily looking for individuals. We're always down for custom homes, but that market is it's just tough right now. I mean, like you said, with stocks and all that, it's just so variable that I think there is a little bit of holdback on that action. But investors and pension groups and things like that.
Yep.
They still are ready to go. They still want to move forward. So, multi-family residential, condo projects, wood condo projects, those ones are still viable and still in play. And I mean, we do have a housing crisis or a shortage, right? So it's not like we're at a point where everything's good and it's stopped. It's more, how is the market changing to accommodate the needs of this housing shortage?
Yeah, and like you said though, not everyone, because of the interest rates right now, are going to be building their dream home. So like, this is something where I know you're looking towards, like you just said, like the condos and those type of developments, as like not a plan B, but just as an alternative and also better growth for your company. With us, like, yes, we specialize in the custom and the remodels, the additions, the renos, but like reno, everyone's gonna wanna do a reno. Everyone's gonna need to update their current home. 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. That's a thing, right? So we're hoping with our industry that we specialize in, renos, additions, remodels, and just the customs aside, that we're not going to be affected. And like you said, by the end of the year, things are going to be like, people are going to have the blinders off, I guess you can say. And yes, this is the normal now. like we got to do this, or else we're just kicking ourselves.
And people, you know, there's still tons of people that have availability within their situation to do remodels or additions or whatever. It's not like, you know, there's obviously a percentage of people that went out and did crazy things when their house value went right through the roof, and then, you know,
And now they can't afford it, or
overextended, and all, there's 100%, there's a percentage of that, but there's also still a percentage of people that didn't move, didn't do anything, still have the value in their house, still are capable of handling a renovation, addition, whatever it might be, right? So I like you said, that's a good spot, and that market's not really going to change because people are always going to fix their home, and it's an extremely valid point to do because you're just making your property worth more.
Exactly. Yep.
So you're not losing. You're just increasing value in your biggest asset that you have, most likely.
Well, it's usually the biggest asset, biggest investment, and I hear that some towns are actually providing incentives and also making second dwellings on the property become legal. So
ADUs
they've been working
are huge.
Yeah, they're working on this now, so we can actually, rather than just like another solution for rather than just keep pumping out, you know, townhomes and all these, you know, thousands of homes per year because we're going to be running out of land. We're going to be going into Greenbelt, and that's a whole other discussion. But like, why not take advantage of the property you already have and keep doing additions, renos, and then you can, if you have to live with your extended family because that's how you can make it work, like financially feasibly, like, then we should be providing these.
And I think that's an area for your business that you could absolutely blow up in as an added service is the ADU market. It's just like you say, it adds income to the property. It does a lot for you at the end of the day, and with it being fairly easy to procure those sorts of permits, it is a great option for people that maybe have kind of hit their limit of where they should have stopped potentially, and maybe they're a little stretched, but this gives them an opportunity to kind of bring in some other income and change how their situation is.
Yeah, so like for us, like as a business, we're hoping to, well, not hoping, we are going to keep moving on renovations, additions, but hoping that sector with the current market doesn't decrease. So I think we're in a good place for that. But I do feel that the custom home side, it might decrease a little bit because of the current rates.
It's definitely causing uncertainty.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, it's market uncertainty, and it can be extremely scary. People that have kind of played the stock market and their investments, and that's where everything's at. Well, it might not be the best time right now for them, but it doesn't mean that, higher level income earners are not spending money though. They're still out there spending it.
Yep.
So that's also a good thing to see.
I think our industry is going to be good moving forward throughout this year. I think though, like you said, we just might have some hesitant people and not being as quick to make a commitment, and they're going to be a little more cautious. But yeah, I still think there's going to be commitments, it's just more cautious.
More cautious, but I mean, that kind of goes to the importance of selling brand.
100%, yep, full circle, yep.
If you're not selling brand, you're not creating a comfortable name to associate with my home renovation, my custom framing that I need done for my house, whatever it might be. That brand recognition will go a long way at the end of the day. I mean, if you say, hey, you can have those Nikes or you can have that no-name shoe, I'm telling you right now, 99% of the time, that Nike's going first. It's just the way it is.
Yep, 100%.
Right? It's all mindset, perception. That's the way it goes. And then you just have to back up your brand. That's the kind of how that interacts. Oh, we like that brand. Well, we like the people behind the brand as well. And if you can get those two to pair and meet, and that's where you're gonna get that buy-in. You're gonna get that client.
So here's to making it happen, eh?
Yeah, sounds good, man.
I really appreciate your time today and this conversation that we've had.
It was super fun.
I'm gonna take incentive on those incentives that you told me about.
Yeah.
And we gotta do this again soon.
Yeah, for sure. Will do. Thanks.
Thanks, Frank. Yay!